Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. This is going to be our daily cryptocurrency market update, and there's quite a bit to discuss in this one. We're going to be jumping into a little bit of a price action, certainly looking at Ethereum, looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's now above 24K. Will it hold it? Yesterday it rejected. We took the shorts, it reclaimed it, we got out of those shorts, and then sort of looked to see what happens. And right now it's very much holding 24K. You really had crypto looked very weak in the morning, and still actually looked quite weak whilst the US equity market was opening. But the US equity market is really driving and leading the cryptocurrency market. And whilst it continues to do this, the cryptocurrency market is very much just going to follow, and it's a real reflection of allocation. But talking about Bitcoin, you guys will know, those of you that watch me daily, we've had a very cautious approach since 44K. We're obviously significantly still below 44K. We did go down to 17. We're now up at 24. What's next? And we're going to elaborate on a little bit of that, because for me, this is still a bear market rally. Okay, and I think when you zoom out and put it on a weekly, it still very much looks like that. I haven't seen any kind of bullish divergences taking place. So for me, and these are just some of the indicators that I look at that are very commonly known that I don't mind sharing. But even the accumulating distribution index, you still haven't put in some sort of bullish diversion that would lead me to believe that a sort of longer term shift is in place. We've also not seen the volume really support this being the bottom. Doesn't mean that it's not. It's just not what I think is very highly probable. So what happens over the weekend is going to be interesting. My bias is, I can still see more downside in the short term. Expect Bitcoin to have a pullback here potentially, but sort of overarchingly, I still think that we're going to come down and at least re-see 17K and potentially go low. It's been an impressive rally, but it's been one that's taken place when most of your sort of big asset managers are probably on a beach somewhere. It's summer, very low vol, very low interaction, quite retail driven, overly aggressive shorts, lots of things going on. And I think this is really propelling this rally. And the question is, for me, we're going to do a video on the Ethereum merge. You guys know that I've been in Ethereum for a very long time. I've been waiting for the merge for a very long time. Looks like it's finally happening. What's going to happen after that merge? And typically what you get is you get people buying into it and selling after it. And if you accommodate that with being in September, there's lots going on in September, by the way, guys. We've got the Fed doing another hike, giving some guidance. We've also got the merge. We've got a whole list of things taking place. The next CPI print. It's going to be a very interesting month, September. So we'll see. But for me, as much as the FOMO, I'm not immune to it. I'm happy to sort of sit this one out and let the market show me that this is the bottom before putting the capital that I've got back in, because it's a lot easier to play around and put small amounts of money in than it is large amounts of money. You want to make sure that you're right, or at least you think you're right. And right now, for me, the risk and reward still doesn't quite make sense to get back in. Let's cover a little bit of other news. Let's start with a little bit of crypto news. Crypto entrepreneur Bankman-Fried and Son in talks to buy majority of Huobi, a global exchange. So the reason I bring this up is Sam Bankman-Fried. I think he's going to be the crypto guy, in regards to he's very much taking over the entire cryptocurrency market. From a trader's point of view, FTX I actually think has been somewhat damaging because they've got really aggressive algorithms that will look for stops, will know where liquidity is. It's kind of a little bit almost unfair that you're allowed to have a huge exchange and also trade against the market that you're providing liquidity to. Anyway, neither here nor there, but I bring this up because this is significant. Huobi Exchange, I think one of the individuals is selling the majority. And Sam Bankman-Fried and Justin Sun are looking to take it up. Celsius Network is bankrupt. So why is the sell price up 4,000%? I don't think I pay attention to the sell token. But the reason I bring this up, and I'm going to bring AMC up here, these kind of meme stocks. Meme stocks have done unbelievably well. Up 118%. Or 80%. What's driving this? It's the same thing with Cell Network. It's the same thing with many of these small, low liquid altcoins. It doesn't take a lot to drive the price up. You've got your big boys behind it that will be making all the money from this and using retail to kind of exit to at the top. That's kind of what I think is taking place. This kind of looks almost like a Ethereum in 2017, You know, something like this, guys. So that's interesting. And the reason I bring this up is because why is sell pumping? Why are all your meme stocks pumping? Well, it's because risk on is very much deemed a thing now. We spoke about the overall. So why did markets rally on GDP? Because they thought that, okay, now we're in a recession or we've had 2 negative quarters. Maybe markets are going to look for, um, you know, the Fed backing off a bit. The Fed aren't going to be as aggressive as potentially they have been to get us up to 2.5, but they're still going to be pretty darn aggressive, and they're still looking at that 3 to 3.5% interest rate hikes, and they're not going to slow down until they see what they need to see, and that's inflation not just having one lower print, but staying consistently low. And you know, I don't think they've seen that yet, and I think that they're going to continue to fight this battle until something breaks, and that's another reason we're kind of out here. Is okay, not only is this technically not showing me that it's a bottom, but also there's a lot of risk that people aren't quite accounting for at the moment. And it's always, you know, I never really, before I got into crypto, understood the whole, or any markets for a long period of time, understood the whole kind of battle you have between bears and bulls. But it's a real one, let me tell you that. And you want to try and be neither, but take a stance as you kind of are trying to trade this maybe quarter to quarter. Let's do a little bit more. This is the Bitcoin mining revenue jumps 68% from the lowest earnings day of 2022. So miners, I thought, were going to become a real issue. The reason being is because miners are one of the, I mean, they are the tap, if you will, for the supply of Bitcoin. And some of those miners actually used to hold their Bitcoin. They used to just have to sell what they needed to be keep their head above water, pay all the staff, you know, pay the electricity bills, pay for the miner servicing, whatever it may be, and then they'd actually hodl the rest of the Bitcoin. So the fact that they're now in profit, because one thing I was thinking, okay, well, if Bitcoin continues to come down, miners are going to have no choice but to sell, so that's going to be a continuous sell pressure. But it seems that that's been somewhat averted for now. That catalyst still may arise, and we did say miners are going to become a significant issue. Steve Cohen, I think Steve Cohen owns one of the big sports clubs over in the United States. He's also a well-known hedge fund manager. Is quietly setting up a crypto-only asset manager. Blockworks exclusive, the move to create a separate entity reflecting Cohen's increasing bullishness on digital assets, according to 4 sources familiar with the matter. So it's not just Steve Cohen, it's BlackRock, it's JP Morgan. You know, nobody's more bullish long term on the crypto space than I am. Something I've continued to reiterate. I just think we're in a sticky period as far as markets that are driven from liquidity go. And that's not just Bitcoin, that's all markets, and liquidity is going to get taken off the table. But that being said, the groundworks for this asset class becoming the new asset class and taking over the world are still very much at hand. And the fact that we see all these big institutions getting into it. Okay, one of the biggest threats to crypto is the SEC. If the SEC was going to ban crypto, you know, make it so that you just simply couldn't trade it anymore, do you not think that these big institutional players that are very pallied up with the likes of the SEC, they have to be because of what they do as, you know, fund managers, hedge funds, would be moving towards crypto? They wouldn't be doing that if they thought that the SEC was going to regulate this out of existence. And I actually think regulation in some ways is going to be significantly actually be the next step to that next level of adoption that we're going to see for crypto, because everybody's going to have access. Your big institutions and funds that have largely had to stay out until now because there hasn't been the kind of security there or the clarity there to get in, they will now be able to do so. Last little bit of news, and then we'll talk about the GDP for the UK, which we didn't cover. And then we'll talk a little bit about Peloton, which cut 800 jobs across the board. Amazon, Tesla, we're seeing people cut jobs. Whilst they're saying a strong labour market is at hand. Why are they cutting jobs now? You don't cut jobs typically. You know, why are they cutting jobs here? Because they think that the margins of these companies are going to be less. Well, what's the majority of the stock market made up of? Companies like Peloton, Amazon, and so on and so forth. Let's quickly touch on this. The Netherlands arrested suspected Tornado Cash days after the US sanctions. So Tornado Cash has been, we spoke about this, and we spoke about how there was somebody sending, you know, 0.1 ETH to all the influencers' addresses from Tornado Cash. There's this real battle here because, and I suppose it's more of a philosophical thing than anything, and an ethical thing instead of anything else. You know, can you really arrest somebody for creating code? You know, there's the whole Ross Ulbricht thing. You know, before I was even a Bitcoin holder, you know, I kind of became acquainted with Bitcoin during that whole period. There's also, you had somebody who I think was teaching blockchain in North Korea. He ended up getting imprisoned for quite a significant period of time, just for teaching code essentially and software. So is software now and is code now not a free, it's kind of like this speech argument, freedom of speech argument. We're getting way too philosophical, but just some interesting news to pay attention to. Let's get into the GDP for the UK. We didn't cover this, or we mentioned it in yesterday's video. The UK economy contracts in the second quarter as cost of living crisis bites. Another issue for me that I don't think people are pricing this risk in is what happens when we go into winter? Okay, we're already seeing in certain areas energy prices go sky high. Winter's going to be a cold one. It's going to be, an interesting time. We're in the summer months, very low vol, things are sort of lapsy-daisy. Do you know what I mean? It's not... The problem for me is what comes now, what comes into the winter. Are we going to see inflation absolutely rocket again? Are we going to see people that already can't afford their bills now be even more, those bills become even more affordable for them? It's not just hedge funds and stuff like that that drive markets, it's individual people. The hedge funds are getting squeezed from a liquidity point of view with the rate hikes. People are getting squeezed with inflation because they can't afford their bills anymore and their wages just simply haven't. Is that the time period to expect a raging bull market? I don't believe it is. I could absolutely be wrong, but my money's where my mouth is on here, and we'll see what the outcome is. Time is going to be the real teacher here. Again, just touching on this again, more job cuts from Peloton. Gavin is a great guy to follow, by the way. Always putting some really useful stuff on his Twitter. But this is certainly interesting, something I'm paying attention to, because it's not just Peloton, it's Amazon, it's Tesla, it's all of your big... I think the only one we've not heard from is Apple. All of your big companies are having to lay people off as a result of inflation and as a result of a number of other things. And you've got to think, if they're doing that because money's tight, well, that's kind of an echoed situation, I believe. And if you look at what really drives the stock market, and the stock market's driving the crypto market right now, it's frustrating. Yesterday should have been a great shorting day. In my opinion, crypto looked weak as hell. There was technical structures there. However, when the S&P opened, it rocketed. Crypto just took the path of least resistance and went with it. You've got a lot of FOMO behind it. But we'll see how things play out. So that's really all I've got for you in this video. Still very much, from an investment point of view, have more exposure to cash than we do crypto. We still have exposure to crypto just in case we're wrong. And of course, that's going to be benefiting from this move that we see. However, I do envision that there is more downside on the cards, certainly this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do put in new lows. That's very much where I'm at. And until this proves that this isn't just a relief rally, I'm going to play a very defensive game until, I have to essentially get back in. But I don't think that that's the probable case. All I've got for you in this one, guys. If you enjoyed the content, as always, a like is appreciated, so as a comment, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next YouTube video. Have a great day, guys.